I'm going to say good evening to one and all, and welcome to the September 19th regularly scheduled East Long Meadow Board of Library Trustees meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. It is now 6:05. Okay, what I'd like to do, starting from my left, we'll do our roll call. Okay, Melanie
Meehanheim.
Michael Gray.
Diane Tiago.
David Boucher.
Cindy McNaught.
Layla Johnston.
All right. So, our first order of business is the minutes of the August 15th meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to go over the minutes and make any edits, suggestions? Did we overlook something? Or did you find them in order? Can I hear a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to present the minutes of the August 15th, 2018 meeting as presented.
And can I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Michael, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The next item on our agenda is the guest opportunity to address the board. At this point in time, we don't have anybody in the room. I wanted to mention that this meeting, I overlooked something. This meeting is both being audio and video taped for future broadcast on LCAT. Sorry, I jumped over that, people, but it's something that must be stated. Okay, so moving along, we have our director's report. And if Layla, if you wouldn't be so good as to tell us about your report.
Sure. So we did have some routine building maintenance conducted. The library's fire alarm and sprinkler systems were tested at the beginning of the month. Public services. Last month I did bring up the memorial bench that's going to be dedicated and installed in honor of Alex Blaze by Team Alex. The Department of Public Works has already cleared out a section of this grass over here. They removed shrubs and they're preparing to install the bench. Of course, it's rained every day this week, and so they need to be able to install the proper concrete reinforcements. As soon as the weather permits, they will install the bench. The bench will be placed on the grass near the literacy path, and the library will host a dedication ceremony and events in honor of Alex on Saturday, September 29th, starting at 10 a.m. I've included the flyer advertising the special events for that day. The bench dedication ceremony is at 10 a.m. And then we have a variety of activities for families, including a story walk throughout the library, rock painting, crafts, and camp theme STEAM activities and more. So I hope to see everyone there. And for our reports, I did complete the library's annual report information survey, which is known as ARIS. That's our statistical report that we have to submit to the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners every year. And the library's application for state aid will be submitted tomorrow after Diane and I have a chance to review and sign it after this meeting. Both reports are required to submit for the library to be certified and qualify for financial incentives from the Commonwealth. In addition to filing our ARIS report, certification requires that the library meet funding requirements from the town, which is known as our municipal appropriation requirement, have a library director holding a master's degree in library and information science with a professional certification issued by the Commonwealth, spend a minimum of 15% of our operating budget on materials for patron use, and that can be anything from databases to audiobooks to books to large print books. New this year is that we can also include technology for direct patron use. So if we purchased, for example, laptops that we were going to circulate, that counts towards our materials expenditure. We are also required to be open a minimum of 3 evenings and 50 hours per week.
How do we do on that one?
we surpassed. I have
yeah.
the report with me if anybody wants to look at it.
I just was
We are
looking
open
at the
3
hours.
evenings and we're open 53 hours every week.
Wonderful.
Yeah. We are also required to lend books and other materials to other libraries in Massachusetts, allow all residents of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to enter our building and use our resources, and make no charge to the public for library services. And I'm pleased to report that we met all of these requirements, including our municipal appropriation requirement for fiscal 2020.
Great, great. And the sooner we get that report there, the better we're
That
off.
bumps us to the top of the list.
For state aid.
Yes.
coming
Yeah,
back.
okay, great. Okay.
Oh, we'll be at the top.
And before I move on, if you don't mind, I just wanted to show the poster for the afternoon for putting the bench for Camp Alex. So I just thought, if people see this around town, that's what it's all about. You're welcome to join us anytime, so.
Is there someone with a bunch of these who knows where to put them around town?
I believe Camp Alex is a group of community individuals who have organized this, and they will put those.
And distribute them.
They're doing the marketing for it.
Yeah.
As a group
Okay.
to benefit Alex.
All right, and then, all right, the financial report as
So
well.
we have an abbreviated financial report. We are exactly where we should be for this time of the fiscal year. So if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate, but we are in good financial standing.
All right. Great. It's always great to hear such good news.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate, a department that's been very fortunate that we can pretty much monthly say
Yeah, we're on track.
we're on track. So that's great.
That's not always the case with departments.
Well, you
Like
know,
this one, it's been the case.
you know, we've been pretty, we've been pretty much stable and meet all of,
Absolutely.
yep. No surprises is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. You know,
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the director's narrative written report.
I motion that we accept the director's narrative written report.
And do I have a second? Okay, Cindy. Is there any other discussion about her report or any questions you'd like to ask her at this particular time?
I'd just like to say thanks for all you do.
Oh, thank you.
It's working well because of you. So.
Thanks. And the staff. The staff are also integral.
Okay.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Okay. So, our next item on our agenda is new business, and it's application for state aid to public libraries. And Lily, you want to give us a little bit about that?
Sure. So as I described in my report, we have to meet a number of criteria in order to qualify for what's called state aid to public libraries. If we qualify, we are given financial incentives from the state. This year, we can expect around $30,000, we're hoping, based on the governor's budget, which is slightly better than last year. So more is always a little bit better when it comes to the state grants. And I did bring an example with me in case anyone who's unfamiliar wants to see both the financial report that I have to submit as well as the compliance form.
Okay.
So in the financial report, which is a form that is sent to me by the Board of Library Commissioners, they pre-populate certain items every year. For example, they pre-populated in our municipal income from last year because they have all that on file from us being certified. They pre-populated in our state aid amount. And then the rest I have to document how did we account for particularly our materials expenditure. How much did we spend on books, on cereals, on ebooks, all those kind of things. in addition to documenting all of the very helpful and fantastic donations we get from the Friends. So this is the financial version of the report. I don't know if anybody wanted to look at that. And then that is submitted along with, this is the compliance form.
All right.
And so this is, Diane and I will look at this and sign after the meeting. And so the compliance form is also sent to me with certain figures calculated in based on what we have reported over the years to the Board of Library Commissioners. And they do want you to fill it in pen. They do want it to be manually filled out. I can't use a Adobe Acrobat or anything like that. So this is what I reported. That was our municipal appropriation from last year. They then take the last 3 years and average that out and increase that by a 1.025% to then get what they think our annual appropriation should be for the following year. We have been appropriated more than that, so we will be certified based on that component as well as the other requirements that we've met, like materials expenditure, professional certification for the librarian, etc. And then I will submit this along with, here's where we have our hours open per week that Diane was asking about. We're open 3 evenings, 6 days, and 53 hours, so we surpassed those requirements as well. And then again, they want more documentation about materials expended, gifts to the library, things purchased for the library on behalf of the Friends, such as the telescope was a new thing that we can include. And so then Diane and I will sign away on the line, and I'll make a photocopy and then send everything in, along with, this is also something relatively new that they've been requiring over the last few years. This is a report from Munis, which is our town budgeting software, and this shows that I'm not fudging the numbers on our annual appropriation. That was something that was requested starting about 4 years ago. There was an audit done of the state aid program, and previously there was no proof required to be sent in. And so this is just another way to make sure that towns are funding their libraries in a way that is the best for the community.
And then they're rewarded by a state aid.
Yes, yes.
Can I ask you one question about the hours that of being open? Are those hours the normal hours, or do they take into account any days that you're closed because of snow or maintenance concerns?
We do have to report any emergency closures, yes.
And are you penalized if it's over a certain amount, as the schools are?
At least not yet, not that I'm aware of.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
Yeah,
question.
she was asking if we're penalized like the schools would be for going over their maximum, what is it, 5 days, Sydney?
Yeah,
that you get
for
for
snow
days.
For snow days, yeah.
Okay.
So if we're supposed to be at 53 hours, if we were at 51 or 52, it would be okay?
As of right now,
Because
it's
of
okay. They
snow
just
days?
want to keep track of it for a statistical
Yeah.
standpoint.
So
If
there's no
we were to
penalty,
suddenly,
really?
not yet.
And there shouldn't
Not
be.
yet.
Now,
Same
if
here.
there was a pattern of behavior of us closing, we'll say, every Friday due to budget
yeah, well,
cuts or
that's-
something
right.
like that, that would be something that could jeopardize our certification. But not the emergency closures like
I'm
you're talking about. Mhm.
if we close because of snow. And
Yeah.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year we can also include our hours on Saturday?
We were able to include, what they do is in order to make sure that it's as fair as possible, because some libraries don't have the funding for hours on Saturday,
Yeah.
you're only required to report, I believe it's 38 consecutive weeks. So you could just adjust which weeks of the year that you were reporting to make
Okay.
sure that that also helps some of the, like libraries on the Cape that have big tourist populations that might need to alter their hours at different times of the year and things like that.
Interesting. A lot of statistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all statistics.
they love statistics.
Well, they can read them.
Show me the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not to penalize anyone or make anyone feel like they're being compared to another library or anything like that. It's mainly to make sure that you're continuing to provide a high level of service every year, And if there are big fluctuations, that's when questions would be asked.
Concern would be raised at that point.
Red flag.
Yes.
Okay.
They want to assure that communities have access to quality libraries. That's their goal, I believe.
Yeah.
Right.
And they want to assure that the town, city or town that
Are supporting that.
yes, is in their budget. Make sure that they are supporting their library as well. Correct. In
Right,
their
and
budget.
they don't want to give, the state doesn't want to give a municipal library money if the municipal government isn't willing to support the library. They say, well, let the state do it. And the state's, the library commissioners' way to monitor that is to say, well, we will, I don't know about gladly, but maybe gladly give you the money if your town government also supports this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it seems to work pretty well.
Well, I hope that's good clarification for everybody here and those that will be watching this on LCAT. There's a lot to running a public library, and the behind the scenes is more than probably even those of us sitting here at the table realize. So.
I can assure you, being a
Except for
librarian-
Cindy, okay, except for Cindy.
Being a librarian is a fabulous job, but you don't sit and read books all day.
Yeah.
It's a fallacy.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else? Any comments or other questions for Layla with regards to these reports?
Can I just see that first?
Sure.
All right.
The first one.
All right. So we're going to go back. We're going to into the old business, and the first item under old business is the bulletin board policy, and so yeah, this is just a draft. It has not been voted on or finalized. And did everybody have an opportunity to go through and so forth?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
do you want to go line by line, or how do you want to do that?
Well, I think that might not be a bad idea. All right. Now this is just draft. So I don't want anybody thinking that this is the final policy. So it says the purpose of the community bulletin boards and literature racks. Purpose, it is as a resource for local information and community activities and events. The East Long Meadow Public Library provides 2 bulletin boards for postings and 2 racks for passive distribution of non-library materials of general community interest from other organizations. The library bulletin boards are primarily for notices and postings of library-sponsored events and Town of East Long Meadow government notices. Community bulletin boards may be used for the following types of information also. Postings of forthcoming educational, social, civic, charitable, cultural, or recreational activities. And in yellow, Layla, you made a suggestion?
I just had a question.
Okay.
Just to point out too that as currently written, that would allow postings for fundraisers for those particular, whether it be the high school or the cultural council, something like that. As that is currently written, we would allow a fundraiser for those groups.
Yeah, and is that what you want?
That's my question for all of you.
Right. And
Well, why don't we go through and then we'll go back. How's
okay.
that?
All right. So let's put a little mark there that
Yeah.
we go back.
Okay.
Rewind.
All right, rewind. The next item is postings by nonprofit organizations, groups, agencies, or by any federal, state, or local government agency providing services to citizens. Next
Should
item.
that say free services to citizens?
Again, that would be a good question. That's up to all of you.
So let's put free question mark. Okay.
All right. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Postings announcing community services and volunteer opportunities. The next one is postings advertising educational lessons and instruction. So we'll be going back to that. And
That was
non-part,
crossed out. Who crossed it out?
I did. I wondered if we wanted to keep that or not.
I
yeah,
don't think so.
and we'll go back to that. Nonpartisan election information such as provided by the League of Women Voters or by the Secretary of State. Community bulletin boards may not be used for the following types of information: commercial notices, solicitations, business cards, job postings, and retailing advertising. Personal notices of items for sale, personal solicitation for fundraising, such as walkathons, road races, etc. Materials that support or oppose any political candidate or ballot measure, and materials that support or oppose a specific religious conviction. Bulletin boards posting guidelines. All items must be reviewed and posted by library staff. Notices posted without authorization will be removed. The library director or designee has final say on postings. Due to limited space, the library reserves the right to prioritize the items that are posted based on community interest and timeliness of event. Some approved items may not be posted due to space limitations. Postings larger than 11 inches by 8.5 inches may not be accepted. Postings without a specific date may be removed if space is needed. Posting of materials does not imply library endorsement or consent, nor will the library accept responsibility for the accuracy of the statements made in such materials. Guidelines for materials in the literature racks. All items must be reviewed and placed in literature racks by library staff. Items placed in the literature racks without authorization will be removed. Library director or designee has final say on materials placed in the literature racks. And due to limited space, the library reserves the right to prioritize the items that are placed in the literature racks based on community interest and timeliness of events. Some approved items may not be included due to space limitations. Passive distribution of materials in the literature racks does not imply library endorsement or consent, nor will the library accept responsibility for the accuracy of the statements made in such materials. And this was just, I just put this in just for clarification because we were discussing it, but community shall mean the East Long Meadow community. For, and so.
It's the East Long Meadow
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. So, all right.
I was
So,
just gonna say on the postings larger than 11 inches by 8.5 inches,
yeah.
maybe in that line, could we include, and all postings must include a date on
Okay.
that line?
Okay.
And also, is there a minimum size that,
Ah,
is there one that's like a posted note that, I don't know if we need a minimum size, but I just wondered if.
well, that's a good question.
I don't know that
What-
we would need a minimum. We don't really have people submitting really small items. They are mostly, kind of like this flyer here. We do have people though that bring in
Those
very
giant
large
posters. Oh, I know that.
posters. You've
I
seen
know.
those.
But if somebody brings something in like that, it's probably gonna get covered over.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between posters and flyers.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're trying to make that differential here.
when it says may not be accepted,
Where's that?
in that line that you just mentioned,
Oh, may not be
8.5 by 11 line,
Or will
may, well, again, from
Yep.
my rules writing background, may means, it doesn't mean must, and it doesn't mean will. It means they may. So that leaves it open that if you bring something bigger than this in, yeah, we might put it up. Or do you want to limit it to this size?
I think we should limit it to that size.
So then
So
it'll
the
say
word may.
will not be
Then it should say
accepted.
will
Right,
not be
you gotta
accepted.
change the word
Okay.
may.
That was
Great.
easy.
Great catch.
Yep.
Also, what does the word passive mean? I'm not
That
familiar
means that
with
we're not
passive
gonna stand
distribution.
there and hand out the literature, but if
Oh.
somebody wants to put it there and people can pick it up on their own, that's the passive distribution.
Now, have you had things put there that had objectionable stuff inside?
Absolutely,
Oh,
yeah.
So you have to like find it.
Oh yeah, my staff every single day, we have to monitor both the boards and the racks because people will put all kinds of, whether it's commercial postings or flyers supporting one individual political candidate or house for rent. Somebody kept posting their house for rent over and over again. All kinds of
But if it's like an advocate that has, I don't know, adult material in it or something, do you remove it?
we do not remove the advocate. The advocate's right out there and that's in a different newspaper rack.
So that's different than passive literature?
I don't know that it is different from passive literature,
So
but
my question is just, could a mother object to the fact that the kid has this thing and is pointing, oh look, it's, I'm just wondering, how do you scrutinize?
we
that?
don't
Do you have a
censor,
policy
that's
for
up to
what
the
you-
mother.
If she objects to it, then she takes it.
The library does
takes it
not
and
act
puts it back.
in loco parentis, meaning in place of the parent.
But
That's up to
you're
the parent.
accepting the thing to be distributed in your lobby.
The advocate?
No, I just mentioned the advocate as an example, but if it was some flyer and there was something in
But
there
that's why
that was-
we're
Right,
going over
yes.
these guidelines
I
here
know.
to make sure
It
that
doesn't
it
get
meets
put on the bulletin board.
meets
with
all
a
these
tag.
standards, and that would be
Yeah.
whatever these standards end up being: nonprofit organization, charitable group, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so I had another question, which is, you have 2 bulletin boards.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any policy for like, why wouldn't everybody, since most people go in and out of one door, want their stuff at both locations?
Most people do.
Okay.
Why they don't want their stuff at
I
both
just
locations,
wondered
or
if
why-
like you wanted to make it like, look, we only have 2 bulletin boards, we'll put as much as we can on both of them, or are they pretty much identical? Because, like I never use that door, I
Mhm.
use this door.
So your
So if you
question
posted
is,
something at that
are
door,
both bulletin boards identical?
or,
Is that your question?
well, or is everything duplicated on both boards is my.
Usually,
Okay,
But
that's,
that would be up to the person who wants to put it up.
yeah. And they
That's not our
most of the
responsibility.
time know that we have 2 boards, bring us 2 flyers, et cetera.
okay.
And also, should there be a limit to how many events one person can post?
At one time?
If they
I don't
can
know.
fit it all on a 11
And a
11
half.
by 8 by a half by 11.
But-
Well, if you
And
bring
the
it-
library director would be able to prioritize, so you might not have room for all 3 of your events, but I could put 2 of them on.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Have you ever had a situation where it was like just way over jammed?
Oh,
Always.
Always.
In fact, I have, you know what, I'm gonna go get that stack from my office. I'll be right back.
okay.
All right.
So we might wanna have something in here that limits the amount of items you can have per event. Because somebody could have an event and make 4 different flyers for it, and put 4 different ones up
I see.
and monopolize the board,
Okay.
so.
For
I
one
was-
specific event on one date?
Yeah, and make different flyers
Ah.
for it. I went on and looked at some other policies, and I noticed that several of them had that, and I thought, that might not be a bad idea.
Oh,
I'm just throwing it out.
oh.
Do
I
you
think
remember
that's a
how
gr-
it was worded?
Yes, they should limit the number of items per event, and that would be up to the library directors or assistant directors.
Where would you put that on here?
Probably
Would it
another
be
bulleted item.
may not be?
Oh
no.
I don't know. I'd say,
Probably under guidelines.
yeah, I would say under
Underneath, bulletin board
guidelines.
on the bottom.
So this is 6 weeks worth. This isn't even 2 months worth of
That's a month and a half.
stuff that people want us to put out for them. Here we go. Is this something that we feel that we, as the
Oh,
public
yeah.
library,
Yeah, we need one of these.
notice
It's
though,
a magnet.
notice it's advertising.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, is that something that we want in the passive literature racks? Here we go again with gymnastics. This is a fee. This is somebody's business.
That's a business.
This is a very heartbreaking event, but this again is a personal solicitation for a fundraiser for a young lady who was in a very critical car accident.
So that would be someone like Alex's memory.
So
But
here
he's
is
part of the community.
Overeaters
I
Anonymous.
understand that. Is Megan?
Is there a fee to join? I don't know. I don't know
I
much
don't
about
know. I didn't
Overeaters
look.
Anonymous. This is just not even 2 months of examples.
It's a lot.
This was my favorite. This was posted while we were in our previous meeting discussing whether or not we were going to continue to allow.
Timing is
This is
everything.
a very large poster for a mixed martial arts event upcoming in Northampton. Like,
Jeez.
this one is my favorite. So we were in the meeting and they put it up there without asking or anything. So yeah, and this is an example here of just, you know, this is, it just keeps on coming.
A
I
lot
see.
to go
See
through and read through and.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Do you go like once a week or every day and just?
Yeah, in the morning, usually, you know,
through.
as we're coming in, people will take a look. It's me, sometimes it's Carol, sometimes it's other staff. And just kind of go through and clean everything up and you know, remove things like the MMA fight coming up in Northampton, take that down. But again, if once we have a more clear set of rules that we're going by with the policy, I'll also be able to just post this right on the board, and hopefully that'll help cut down on some of the, you know, stuff that's being
Right,
left.
look
but
at
we'll
this.
see.
Did you do that
I
draft?
also just do.
Did you draft that?
Don't give them any ideas, Cindy.
But don't ever do that, ever.
I didn't, Layla started with the draft,
Right,
then presented it to us.
I see.
And then we
Because having that
discussed-
envelope or that file folder would, maybe there's stuff in there that wasn't even thought of. But if she did the draft,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah, and what happens, this is, she gave us some examples
keeping
of the other libraries that, policies with regards to the bulletin board.
Are you?
I'll
And
keep
so
I got it all
we felt of the ones that, or I know the ones that I felt comfortable with was the Wilmington Library policy. I felt was the clearest of all the libraries that were presented. With, I don't know how many libraries in the state of Massachusetts. I don't have that statistics, but you know, at least we got about what, 3 or 4 examples of what the policies elsewhere were. So that's how this draft kind of was developed, because we really didn't have a policy. We basically just had, this is how we handled it in the past. It really wasn't anything set in stone. It was just, it just was kind of like, this is what we do,
So you can't do it,
you
right?
know? So we wanted to make it more firm and have it out by the bulletin boards so that if anybody has any confusion or wants to know more about whether they can have it approved to put up on the board, we'll have something there for them. But they can't just put it up on the board unless it gets the authorization of Layla or her designee. That's all. It's kind of like wanting to go through the correct chain of command here. Don't just.
So if a staff person sees something on that board, then they could, then that they think
What's that?
may not be appropriate, they can then take it and say, bring it to you.
Yeah.
or to Sharon or somebody and say,
Yeah.
should we have this?
And they're also, then this gives them more authority on their own. If I'm on vacation or something,
Yeah,
or
they can see.
they can just look at it and say, wow, this doesn't follow our policy.
This is 20 by 40.
Let's recycle this. Yeah. It just makes it easier for everyone.
yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
this way
right.
also, people aren't wasting their posters and flyers where it's
Yeah.
gonna just be recycled either.
And it won't be cluttered.
And
Yeah.
not everybody comes in and says, you know, do you have any objections if I post this? Some of them just stick
Oh,
it
no.
up there.
Mm-hmm.
So the policy will be posted on both boards?
Mm-hmm.
And that's another question about how they stick it up there. Do they use a stapler, or
We do have thumbtacks.
you do have thumbtacks? Okay, and they have to ask you for the thumbtacks?
No, the thumbtacks are
Oh,
just,
choo, choo, choo,
they're
choo,
just
choo,
there.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any more discussion as far as that is concerned? Okay, let's go back to,
Yeah.
Cindy, you had something that you wanted to,
Yeah, to limit the number of items per event. So if somebody came in with 3 different flyers, let's say for the same event, and wanted to put all 3, and maybe we have room up there, and that might be possible, but then they would be monopolizing the board. So just as a protection to us from that happening, or to create a bad feeling by saying, no, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just have it spelled out that would be up to
Only one
one item per event,
right.
one flyer per event,
One,
you mean?
yeah, yeah.
or one. It may not be a flyer. It may be a notice, or maybe a.
So how would you word that? No,
I like to
limit the material to one.
I like to try to start out positively,
Yeah,
so
right.
let's instead of on the negative side,
Right,
and
unless
just
you wanna
say, I
the
mean,
library
just,
reserves the right to limit space on the bulletin board to 1 item per event,
One item, yep.
or.
So you're thinking maybe under bulletin boards posting guidelines
Yes.
on the reverse.
Yes.
After the sentence, some approved items may not be posted due to space limitations. The library reserves the right
Yeah.
To limit the
to
material.
limit. Okay.
Or you can just say there's a limit of 1 item per event.
You said the library requests only 1 item per.
Okay,
event.
so I like that. Library requests only 1 item per event be posted.
okay. All right.
And does it say here that no libraries, that the library assumes no responsibility for what is posted?
Yes.
It does say
at the
that.
bottom.
Oh, yeah, I see that, okay.
And I think, doesn't it say it for both sections for the
I
bulletin
think
board?
it-
And as well as the literature racks. So, there was another item that I checked off, the postings, the very first bullet. Cindy, I think you had something
the-
about it?
Yeah, the postings of forthcoming educational, that one?
Yes.
As currently, well, I was gonna say, you put the word free in there, but if it's a nonprofit,
Well, and this
That
was
would-
kind of our question last time when we were discussing, for example, the East Long Meadow Educational Foundation was
Right.
having an event.
Right.
Would we allow that to be posted? It was
Yes.
$25 a ticket.
yeah, but it's a nonprofit.
So that's why I'm asking, you know, as that's currently written, we would allow that. Is that okay? I'm fine with that if you are. But then that's a change
Well,
from our
maybe we
current
should say
guidelines.
for nonprofit organizations, maybe. So are you saying you don't want anything on the board that has a money?
The current guidelines
Yeah,
that we've been using
What does it say?
Do not allow any ticketed fundraising at all.
Even the community? Not
Right.
at all, 0, okay.
Exactly. So, and that's why, you know, in addition to the amount of flyers and things that we have requests to be posted,
Yeah.
we have requests that I think are something that we might want to consider posting, like the East Long Meadow Educational Foundation
Exactly.
ticketed fundraiser, or a different, you know, school or charitable
Or maybe
related
something for the
to East
senior
Long Meadow.
center or something.
Right. Yeah, that's another good
Or
example.
for the Friends of the Library.
Now the Friends are
Exempt.
already allowed.
So why shouldn't we allow
Yeah.
some of these other ones as well?
So, but that's again something else that, you know, all of you would have to consider, because that would be a change
Well,
from
I-
our current guidelines.
I think my feeling on that is that, that we should expand it a little bit so that we don't lock ourselves into not being able to help the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather have the library be a partner with other organizations, and would hope that they would be a partner with us. So if we wanted them to, at the schools, for example, to post something about a library event, that we might, the Friends might charge something, like, let's say the mini golf
Mini golf.
tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a better public relations move on our part to allow that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that should be reflected in the policy. That's my personal opinion. So,
I'm in agreement with that, because that's what we've been discussing, is that we want to hopefully open the doors and welcome people into our
Right.
libraries, and that's our purpose.
and
is
you don't do that by saying, "No, sorry, we only do it at Friends."
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a bad look.
So they'd have to be a nonprofit, which they refer to as a 501c3.
Okay.
And
Is every nonprofit a 501c3?
they have to go through all of that. It's a lot of paperwork, but
It's a lot of people.
yeah, yep. So I don't know if that would be something they'd have to also show their certificate. I don't know what groups.
But I mean, let's say it was the firemen or the policemen who
Yeah.
are having a fundraiser
Yeah.
for fire equipment or
Yeah.
police equipment or something. They might not be a 501c3, right? They would be, it would be nonprofit,
Yeah.
but
I think it would also be easy to find that information out, since it's all community in East Long Meadow.
Sure.
And we work with,
Well,
a
I
lot
think
of
I do.
different
I think the
I think
sentence.
the wording
I think
covers both of those. These
Yeah.
first two bullets, I think, cover both of those examples, whether it be the schools, the police, the fire.
in a civic.
civic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I think that, you know, if we did want to allow that, the way that these are written, it would be allowed.
I think so
The
too.
second
Because it doesn't
paragraph.
say you can't charge.
Yeah.
Right.
In the second
And
paragraph.
if it is
in the-
charging, it's going to the charity
Right.
or the organization.
I mean, it does say in the second paragraph, the library bulletin board are primarily for notices and postings of library-sponsored events and town of East Long Meadow government notices. I mean, I'm taking that as any notices that's related to the town. You know, right? Like National Night Out or something like that.
Right.
So I think we know the departments in town. It's more that we want to make sure that the nonprofit organizations know they have this ability too. So I think
I think it's pretty much covered in the way it's worded.
I do, but it's good.
Do we want to allow the
Lessons.
tutoring educational lessons?
Oh.
Because those are a fee, and those would be private individuals.
So that's if a child needs help with math or reading,
Right.
that they would meet someone here at the library.
Right.
So the parent brings a child in and they,
Well, I think it would be the tutor would have to put a posting up on the bulletin board, and then if a parent wants somebody to be a tutor, that would be between the two entities,
Right.
and where they meet for the
Is this
lesson,
Yeah, I don't
shall
think
we
they have
say.
to meet here.
We don't have to say, well, it's got to be in, it has to be in the library.
Or does the
Right.
schools have a list of recommended tutors that they give out to the parents, or?
I've never seen one,
Not,
but I was thinking about this, and of course, when I was growing up, we walked home from school.
Yeah.
So if I needed a little bit, 15 minutes extra
have
for
cars.
math or for reading and comprehension, staying after school for
It's not a
15
big
minutes
deal.
wasn't a problem because I could walk home. Today, the kids, they're zooming out the door as soon as that bell rings because they know they got to catch the bus and they got to go. So what happens is perhaps there are teachers that would like to give a child additional time to help clear some of the confusion and so forth. So, try to clear those muddy waters, so to speak, and so forth. But I would think I don't have a problem with that. But I think the rest of it would be up to the two entities to talk about how much, the hourly rate or
And
where are
where
we
we
going to
meet.
meet and so forth. Mike?
Yeah, I think that the bulletin board should more be a place where things are recycled, where it's refreshed, and they're all like temporary events. I just feel like once we start posting things like, hey, I'm a tutor, I teach piano lessons, or whatever it is, it's going to be there forever. It's going to be, and that's going to permanently eat up space on your board. So I'm not sure I advocate that.
I agree.
I think so too.
Okay.
Because then it's still a business.
Yeah.
It's still a business. And that's why I was asking about the schools, because I think parents who are searching for a tutor, the tutor can advertise in the reminder or whatever,
Yep.
or they could give their name to the school and say, I'm available for tutoring.
Yeah. And nowadays with
Getting-
emails and so forth, they
Sure.
can make their connections
Just that way
themselves.
as well.
And what happens is I called Wilmington, which is where I got that line from, and I wanted to know specifically what did they mean about, and it was tutors. So that's why I'm bringing up the tutors. So
And
it was
I
very
know people come in looking to see if we know any tutors.
Right.
So, but you're right, if you put every business card up there, you're just gonna get inundated.
Yeah.
It'd be nice, if you think about it, it'd be really nice if people knew, if you want to know what's going on in town,
Yeah.
come to the library, because we've got two great bulletin boards that have all the neat things that are going on, and people stop in here is there another better place to go to
Not
find
another
the-
better place that I know of.
So my point is, you could draw people possibly into the library if there was even a little ad in the reminder. I don't know if they give out ads for the library, but just say, hey, come to the library and see what all the events in town are. Stop by, look at our bulletin board, and it would just be there every week in the reminder. Just an idea, but if I think about it, like, how do I find out what's going on in the town? It's like, I can read the reminder and try to find stuff, but if it was at the library, that'd be awesome. And then, hey, might as well take a book out while I'm here,
Or a telescope.
Yeah. Or a long game.
Long game, King's Court.
Yeah.
So do we feel comfortable with the edits and modifications at this time? Okay.
Well, the first bullet, I think, could just remain as it is.
Right.
And same with the second bullet.
Great.
We can always make running changes to these things if we
But that
find
is
things, but
that
this is
is
like,
correct.
we're putting a
We've
stake in the
always
ground
discussed
and
that,
seeing
yeah.
how it flies.
Yes, because we didn't have anything
Yeah.
firm,
Right.
and that's what we do, and that's part of our job.
Yeah.
The big job is to go over the policies from time to time and bring them up to speed. So, at our next meeting, Layla, we'll have the
Great.
finalized one so that
Yes.
we can take a vote on it. All right, so that's what we'll do.
Where it says postings larger than 11 inches by 8.5 inches will not be accepted.
Yeah, right, I like that.
All postings need a date,
Yes, all postings must include a date.
must include a date, right?
Okay. All right.
And put it there.
I think that was in.
There was a place where it said about a date, postings without a specific
catch
date may be removed if space is needed.
Right.
But
that was if they put a
Put it
date
there.
and it already
But they
passed.
all should have a date on it to begin with.
Yeah.
There's where we're using may again.
Yeah,
Date
so do we
may.
want the word may?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
Do we take it out?
Thanks,
will be.
thanks,
Well-
David.
And then the next line would be the library requests only one item per event be posted.
Okay. I think we're on our way with this. This is great.
They're moving right along.
Oh, we're moving. Moving and grooving. All right, so that's a bulletin board. So, fine-free Fridays. This brings us back to the June 20th meeting. And I asked everybody if they could go back and take a look at it. It was, in the minutes. Yeah, and so I just thought that it would be a good refresher to see what we discussed at that time. And I at that particular meeting, the trustees felt that the elimination of the fines would provide patrons an avenue, using Melanie's words, an avenue to ignore returning materials by their due dates. And so, therefore, we discussed what can we do to try to still, help families out, but keep the fines as well. And I believe that was also the meeting that we discussed bringing the fine for the DVDs down, and made a decision on that once and for
And
all.
that's something they could adjust in the CW Mars
Yeah,
computer system.
so that was,
So that was adopted.
okay.
Well, it seems like there's only 10 cents, $1, and one $5 item for fines.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
That's it, yeah. So, Layla brought to our attention, there's been confusion. We were trying this fine-free Fridays for one Friday a month was our intention. However, it has turned into a bit of a problem, misunderstandings and so forth. So I've asked her, because it was strictly just on a trial basis. And so I would like Layla to just make up. Sure.
So we initially decided that we were gonna try the second Friday of every month as fine-free Friday.
Yeah.
And the first month, it went pretty well. People were a little bit confused, but were very excited. But because it's not a consistent day, either every Friday is fine-free has turned into kind of an argument for some patrons, or we just don't do the fine-free Fridays anymore at all. It's
Right.
turned into a more confusing than anything else. And I love to try new things. I think that's the only way to improve services is to try something new. But sometimes when you're evaluating it, it's simply not effective.
My red flag with well, as we did with the every other Friday,
Yeah.
was they'll say, oh, this isn't the fine-free one, I'll wait till the
I'll
next
just wait.
one.
Mhm.
Right? And the same would happen, I think, if you did once a month, a fine-free
Right.
day. They would just keep things and say, why should I bring it in now?
So
Pay
my
for it, bring it in now.
recommendation to all of you is
Yeah.
that we simply retire the
The
experiment
fine-free.
early,
Okay.
and I let the staff know that we tried it and it felt that
Okay.
we're gonna.
It didn't have the results we wanted.
Yes, there you
It
go.
wasn't what our intentions really would.
Yes.
We weren't looking to
Yeah.
cause issues
Yeah.
at the desk. Go ahead, Mike.
And that's final.
As far as the fine-free Fridays, that
You
is
got it.
final. And we'll look at other opportunities that and possibilities, such as we've talked about it with the non-perishable foods and so forth. That's been done, but it's the majority feels that fines need to remain.
Yeah.
So.
Now, especially for your benefit, Michael, there are no fines for seniors. And seniors, I think, is at 60.
I know we have a senior card that does not accrue fines.
What is it?
Why do you know this?
Well,
I'm pretty
because I'm not
close.
old enough.
I'm not that.
I would have to look it up.
I'm too old.
I would have to look it
I mean,
up.
I'm
Is
just
it
too old to
60?
know what the minimum is.
I don't know. Everything's different. Go ahead.
And are we still not having fines for children?
Well,
That was part of the
That-
discussion, and that was left
Did we decide
undecided
that?
at
We
this
didn't decide.
time.
For children's
the
materials.
materials,
checked out.
not
Yeah,
for
excuse me.
No,
not for
yeah.
the age
Hey,
range.
children's
Yeah,
material.
Children's
Right.
materials.
yes.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, we're not changing anything at all except
No.
for the
Well, are we gonna have a discussion about the children's materials?
We would need to put that on the agenda
Let's do that.
Okay.
for next month.
Well, whenever you want.
Sure.
All right.
I'm not in charge of that.
Well, children's material should be defined.
Well, it is.
It
It's
is.
anything that
With a
would
J
be
call number.
cataloged with a J for juvenile.
Call number.
So it is already defined.
Mhm. Seniors will be defined by,
When they receive their AARP card.
with what?
Having the seniors with no fines, because that can be considered
Well, we
age
stopped that a
discrimination.
while ago, but
That's okay with me.
Some other libraries have stopped doing that.
Well, I don't think we should. We'll take the chance.
All right. So why don't we put this?
Let's say it could
for
be the
next
same
month.
thing with juvenile.
But that's why you focus the
On the
accommodation
material.
on the material, not on the age. Because it could be an English language learner who's checking out something that is, a comic book or something like that, that's
Right.
helping them learn the language, and that would
That's
be
okay.
cataloged with a J. There would be no fines on that particular item. But all of this we didn't make any changes
right.
to that at this time.
So I have a question. No fines has to have some kind of limit. At what point do you have to replace the item?
We discussed this at length
Right.
in our June meeting.
Okay.
So I would definitely encourage you to watch the LCAT video if you haven't yet.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Must have forgotten.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. But yeah, once the item is not returned, after 4 weeks, it converts over to lost. Sometimes we do replace the item and sometimes we don't. It depends on our selection criteria.
So it's not really no fine. It's no fine, but there's still
Yes.
The item's
There is
then
a- there is a-
considered
there is
lost,
a
and you have
date,
to pay
yeah,
for
a
that.
lost date on it.
No
Lost.
fines means that the
Got
item
it.
has been returned.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was unclear about.
Anything else? All right. I love this discussion. This is good. All right. We've got other business.
So Fine Free Fridays is,
That
We will
has
retire
been-
that.
100% stop.
Yep.
Yes.
okay.
And life goes on, and we'll try some other opportunity for individuals to bring in those overdue books
Or
on another.
to clear their name,
So, it will be
you know,
discussed
so they
next.
can use the library.
Yeah, we'll get to it next month. Okay, great. So the Library Friends news, Melanie.
Okay, I'm up. So the Friends of the Library, at our last meeting, we did discuss that we were going to have on September 15th, which was Saturday, this past Saturday, the pastel painting with Greg Maychak. I don't know how many people showed up for that event. I'll find out from the Friends meeting at the next time, what the numbers were. And they did paint water lilies, which was Monet's water lilies, so that was a great event. I have on the agenda here that we're also still in circulating with the telescope, so that's still out. And on October 3rd, Wednesday, October 3rd, the Halloween basket fundraising event will start on that day. So that is always a wonderful event. And that's all I have for now until the next meeting, and then we'll go for the next couple of months of what's on the agenda. So yeah.
So I have a suggestion.
Okay.
When there's a celestial event, you know, Mars is close to the Earth or Saturn's visible, that'd be a fun thing to put on the bulletin board.
We can definitely look into that, and maybe I can check out some, what are they, NASA websites. I think I already wrote an article for the Friends newspaper, the newsletter that we sent out on the telescope. So I did submit that to Laura to get published in the Friends newsletter. So if you do, when that does get published, she'll send that in an email, in a blast email to all the Friends members. Definitely read that. I did put a couple of websites on there for people to check out. So that might be a good avenue for you to take a look at.
Usually the planetarium, the science.
Well, there used to be a monthly magazine called Sky and Telescope.
Yeah, that's
maybe
right.
it even is here at the library.
I don't know if they still have
And
it.
if it is, as soon as it comes in, somebody could take a quick look at it, and if there's some, something cool visible, that'd be fun to put on the bulletin board, because then people would go, oh, I'm going to take the telescope out and take a
It
look
would
at
probably
that.
have to be a volunteer to do that, though. But
It'd be a friend person.
a friend
And
person.
interesting
That's what I
enough,
mean, a
I did
volunteer.
mention Sky and Telescope magazine in my article for the Friends, because that's how all the telescope conversation led to the Friends acquiring that, because I read it in I think it was 2016 edition. So when you get the newsletter, you'll have to refer to that. But if you type into the computer, if you Google Sky and Telescope and the Friends Lending Program, you'll find the Star Blast Orion Telescope 4.5. It'll be listed in there, and you can read the article online. It's very interesting.
Okay.
Great, thanks. All right, so we're at the end of our meeting, folks. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, October 17th, 2018 at 6 p.m. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this
Okay.
wonderful meeting.
And I'll second that motion.
All right. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you so much.